Greetings, fellow explorers. Today we embark on a captivating journey through the magical city of Venice. Get ready to discover the charm and timeless beauty of this iconic destination as we navigate its enchanting canals and wander through its historic streets. Venice awaits with its rich history, stunning architecture, and unique culture that sets it apart. So, let's dive in and unveil the wonders of this floating city together. St. Mark's Square. This is the main public square of the city, where you can find some of the most impressive and historic buildings, monuments, and attractions. Let's take a closer look at what makes St. Mark's Square so special. St. Mark's Square dates back to the 9th century, when it was originally a small dock for trade ships. Over the centuries, the square became the focal point of the city, hosting various cultural, political, and social events. In the Middle Ages, the square was Venice's main center of trade and commerce, where merchants from all over the world came to sell their goods and exchange ideas. The square was also the scene of many ceremonies, festivals, and celebrations, such as the famous Carnival of Venice, which still attracts millions of visitors every year. The square is surrounded by magnificent buildings that reflect the rich history and architecture of Venice. The most prominent building is the St. Mark's Basilica, the main church of the city, and a masterpiece of Byzantine art. This magnificent church is located in the heart of St. Mark's Square and adorned with golden mosaics, precious marbles, and exquisite sculptures. Let's take a closer look at its history, design, and marvels. St. Mark's Basilica was originally founded in 828 AD. The construction of the current St. Mark's Church began in 1063 and was built in the 11th century to house the relics of St. Mark, whose symbol is the winged lion that you can see everywhere in the city. The basilica has a stunning facade with 5 domes, golden mosaics, and marble decorations. The basilica was embellished over the centuries with precious marbles, sculptures, and mosaics. The interior of the basilica is even more stunning, with over 8,000 square meters of golden mosaics, some dating back to the 12th century, covering the walls, ceilings, and domes. The mosaics are made of glass, gold, and precious stones, and create a dazzling effect of light and color. The basilica also houses a treasure of priceless artworks, such as the Palla d'Oro, a golden altarpiece studded with jewels. St. Mark's Basilica is not only a church, but also a testimony to the power, wealth, and artistic achievements of the Venetian Republic and its inhabitants, a place where history, culture, and spirituality meet and create a unique and unforgettable experience. Next to the basilica is the St. Mark's Campanile, the bell tower that stands 98.6 meters high, making it the tallest structure in Venice and offers a panoramic view of the city and the lagoon. It has a long and fascinating history that spans over 1,000 years. It was first built in the 9th century as a watchtower to sight approaching ships and protect the entry to the city. Due to suffering damage several times from fires, earthquakes, and lightning strikes, it was rebuilt and repaired over the centuries. It also underwent several modifications and additions, such as a belfry, a spire, and a Sansovino balcony. Its belfry houses the bells, which have played an important role in the life of Venice. The original 5 bells, each with a different name, sound, and function, were used to mark the time of the day, announce public executions, convocate government assemblies, and celebrate holy days and events. The largest and oldest bell, called the Marangona, was used to mark the beginning and end of the working day. It is still in use today. The smallest bell, called the Maleficio, was used to announce executions. The other 4 bells were destroyed when the tower collapsed in 1902 and were replaced by new ones in 1912 when it was rebuilt. The spire is the pyramidal structure that crowns the tower and is covered with copper plates. On top of the spire, there is a rotating platform with a statue of the Archangel Gabriel, which serves as a weathercock. The spire was faced in copper in the 14th century, making the tower visible to distant ships in the Adriatic Sea. The Sansovino balcony, built between 1537 and 1549, is the balcony that stands against the base of the tower and is decorated with marbles and bronzes. The Campanile di San Marco reached its definitive appearance in 1514 after a restoration following a damaging earthquake. The restoration began in 1511 and was completed in 1513. However, its stability was compromised by imprudent construction work, and on July 14, 1902, the tower suddenly collapsed, creating a huge pile of rubble in the square. Fortunately, no one was killed, and the nearby basilica was spared from major damage. The collapse shocked the world, and the Venetian authorities decided to rebuild the tower exactly as it was. The first stone was laid on April 25, 1903, and 9 years later, in 1912, on St. Mark's Day, the new Campanile was inaugurated. The reconstruction was a faithful copy of the original design, but with improved safety and stability measures. Visitors can also take an elevator to the top of the tower and enjoy a spectacular and panoramic view of Venice and its surroundings. The tower also hosts exhibitions and events throughout the year, such as concerts, art shows, and scientific demonstrations. Today, the Campanile di San Marco is one of the most popular and must-see attractions in Venice. It is a testimony of the resilience and creativity of the Venetian people, who have preserved and restored their heritage for generations. On the other side of the Basilica and on the north side of the St. Mark's Square is the St. Mark's Clock Tower, a Renaissance building that was completed in 1499. The tower contains a complex clock mechanism that shows not only the time, but also the phases of the moon and the position of the sun in the zodiac. The clock face is a blue and gold circle of marble, engraved with the 24 hours of the day in Roman numerals. A golden pointer with an image of the sun indicates the hour, while the minutes are shown on two large blue panels on either side of the tower. On top of the tower, there are two bronze figures, known as the Moors, who strike the hours on a bell with their hammers. They are called Moors because of the dark patina of the bronze, but they actually represent two shepherds, one old and one young, symbolizing the passing of time. They are wearing sheepskins, or perhaps they are giants, as they are so massive that they can be seen from far away. Below the Moors is the winged lion of St. Mark with the open book before a blue background with gold stars. The lion is the emblem of the Venetian Republic, and its presence on the tower signifies the power and glory of Venice. The book bears the inscription Pax tibi Mars Evangelista Meus, meaning peace to you, Mark, my evangelist. Below the lion is a semicircular gallery with statues of the Virgin and Child seated in gilt-beaten copper. On either side are two large blue panels showing the time, the hour on the left in Roman numerals, and the minutes at 5-minute intervals on the right in Arabic numerals. Twice a year, at Epiphany and on Ascension Day, the wooden figures of three magi, led by an angel with a trumpet, emerge from one of the doorways and pass in procession round the gallery, bowing to the Virgin and Child, before disappearing through the other door, a spectacle attracting thousands of visitors every year. Below the gallery is the great clock face in blue and gold, inside a fixed circle of marble, engraved with the 24 hours of the day in Roman numerals. A golden pointer with an image of the sun moves round this circle and indicates the hour of the day. Within the marble circle beneath the sun pointer are the signs of the zodiac in gold, which revolve slightly more slowly than the pointer to show the position of the sun in the zodiac. These are original and date from the 1490s, and they are a stunning example of the artistic and astronomical knowledge of the time. In the middle of the clock face is the Earth in the center, and the Moon, which revolves to show its phases, surrounded by stars which are fixed in position. The background is of blue enamel. The smaller blue circles in the four corners were originally used to show the time of sunrise and sunset, the length of the day and night, and the time of the equinoxes and solstices, but these functions were disabled in the 18th century, when the clock was rebuilt, and the circles were left as decorative elements. One can also climb the steep and narrow stairways inside the building, passing the clock mechanism on the way, and enjoy a breathtaking view of the city from the terrace on the roof. Below the clock is the archway, 2 stories high, through which the street known as the Merceria leaves the piazza on its way to the Rialto. Being one of the treasures of Venice, this clock tower has witnessed the rise and fall of the Venetian Republic, the invasions and occupations by foreign powers, the revolutions and restorations of the city. The pigeons are another characteristic feature of St. Mark's Square. There are thousands of them that flock to the square every day, looking for food and attention from the tourists. Some people love to feed them and take pictures with them. The pigeons have been in the square for centuries, and they were once considered a symbol of peace and prosperity. Seagulls, often seen soaring above Venice's canals and historic buildings, add a distinctive charm to the city. They flourish in Venice due to its proximity to the sea. Additionally, the abundance of food sources, particularly from the bustling markets and tourists, supports their population. Seagulls in Venice are known for their bold and opportunistic behavior, sometimes even snatching food from unsuspecting visitors. Despite this, they contribute to the unique ambiance of the city, blending seamlessly with its maritime atmosphere. Now, let's explore a great masterpiece of Venetian Gothic architecture, the Doge's Palace. This impressive structure, built around a courtyard and richly decorated, is made of pink Verona marble and white Istrian stone, creating a striking contrast of colors. Its facade is adorned with pointed arches, quatrefoil windows, and delicate sculptures that depict biblical scenes and allegories of Venice's power. It was the meeting place of the governing councils and ministries of the former Venetian Republic, and was also the official residence of the Doge, the elected leader of Venice, who ruled the city for over 1,000 years. Inside, you can admire the lavish rooms and halls where the Doge and his counselors discussed the affairs of state, made laws, and administered justice. One of the most impressive rooms in the palace is the Sala del Maggior Consiglio, or the Hall of the Great Council, where the most important decisions were made by the representatives of the noble families of Venice. This hall, measuring 53.5 meters long and 25 meters wide, is the largest in Europe and can accommodate up to 1,800 people. The hall is also dominated by the largest canvas painting in the world, called Paradise by Tintoretto. The palace also houses many other remarkable rooms decorated with many such stunning paintings by some of the most famous artists of the Renaissance, such as Titian, Tintoretto, and Veronese, who decorated the walls and ceilings with scenes of Venice's history, glory, and mythology. The Doge's Palace is a place where you can admire the beauty and the art of the Venetian civilization. But the palace is not only a place of splendor and glory. It also has a darker side, where the secrets and crimes of Venice were hidden. One can visit the prisons of the Doge's Palace, also known as the New Prisons, where the accused and the condemned were kept in dark and damp cells. One can also cross the famous Bridge of Sighs, which connects the Doge's Palace to the new prison. Built in 1600, this white limestone bridge has windows with stone bars that offer a glimpse of the canal and the city below. But why is it called the Bridge of Sighs? The name comes from the legend that prisoners who crossed the bridge on their way to the dungeons would sigh at their last view of beautiful Venice. But it is more of a romantic notion than a historical fact. This idea was popularized by the poet Lord Byron, who wrote, "I stood in Venice on the Bridge of Sighs, a palace and a prison on each hand." He bequeathed the bridge's English name in the 19th century as a translation from the Italian Ponte dei Sospiri. The Ponte della Canonica, or Bridge of the Canonica, is another bridge, originally made of stone, that spans the same canal as the Bridge of Sighs. Built in the 12th century, it is one of the oldest bridges in Venice. The bridge is named after the Canonica, or the residence of the canons, the priests who served the Basilica of San Marco. It is a great spot to enjoy the view of the Bridge of Sighs and the Doge's Palace, as well as the gondolas and boats that pass under the bridges. The Ponte della Canonica and the Bridge of Sighs are two bridges that will make you fall in love with Venice, a city that is full of charm, mystery, and beauty. The square is also flanked by two long arcades called the Procurati, which were the offices and residences of the procurators of St. Mark, the highest officials of the Venetian Republic. The Procurati Vecchie, or the Old Procuracies, date back to the 16th century and have a classical style. The Procurati Nuove, or the New Procuracies, date back to the 17th century and have a Baroque style. The Procurati are now home to various shops, cafes, and museums, such as the Cora Museum, which displays the art and history of Venice. But can you imagine what happens to this charming city of water, Venice, when the water level rises too high and floods the streets and squares of this historic city? This phenomenon is called acqua alta, which means high water in Italian. Having been recorded since the 8th century, acqua alta is not a new phenomenon. It usually occurs between October and January, but it can happen at any time of the year. It lasts for a few hours, and then the water recedes, leaving behind a wet and sometimes muddy city. It occurs when a combination of factors, such as the moon, the wind, and the sea currents, cause the tide to exceed the normal level. The frequency and intensity of acqua alta vary from year to year, depending on the weather and the climate. When this happens, Venice becomes a surreal and enchanting place, where the reflections of the buildings and monuments create a magical atmosphere. Some of the famous landmarks and attractions of Venice that are affected by it are St. Mark's Square, the Basilica, the Doge's Palace, the Rialto Bridge, and many others. During the high water events, these places are partially or completely submerged, creating a stunning contrast between the water and the architecture. The tourists and locals can either wear rubber boots and walk through the water, or use the elevated platforms that are set up along the main routes. As we draw this chapter of our Venetian adventure to a close, remember that this is just the beginning. Our journey continues, with many more corners of this city and beyond to explore. Be sure to stay tuned for the next part of our voyage through Venice and other remarkable destinations yet to come. If you enjoyed this glimpse into Venice's allure, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon for updates, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, embrace the spirit of adventure and join us as we unravel the world's most beautiful places. Arrivederci, and see you in the next chapter of our travels.